Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tori if you're new here, and today I am sitting down with you and giving you 10 ways to become more self-sustainable. I often get questions about how to start this lifestyle that I have picked up on, and I will say that I have picked up on it along the way. I just dove right in. Some of these things I was raised with knowing, some of these things I have learned in my adult life, but they all have been so helpful. So I've been trying to compile a basic list for some of you, and I have my list written down here. So if you see me looking down, that is what I'm doing. But I'm going to go over each category. Again, I have 10 categories, and then kind of give you an example of what we're doing to maintain that category. If you are new here, hi, hello, my name is Tori. I am a wife, mother of almost 3, and I teach you how to become more prepared on a budget. So if you like that kind of thing, make sure you hit the subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, and without further ado, let's sit down and chat. So of course, everyone's list is going to vary. So if you have any helpful, useful tips, make sure to leave those down in the comments. Anything that I may have forgotten to mention, or perhaps you'd like to add to the conversation, because I'm sure a lot of us watching this may be able to look down in the comments and get some inspiration as well. So number 1 on the list is, of course, to grow your own food. I have been doing this since I was a little girl. My family gardens. My husband's family gardens as well. I grew up in Amish country, so I'm just very passionate about growing your own food and becoming more self-sustainable in that way. I often get comments saying that you don't have enough room, you have an apartment, perhaps you don't have a green thumb. My goal on the channel here is to show you that whatever challenge life presents you, you find a way around it. Honestly, that is where most of my success comes from. I don't have a green thumb. I would not say all of the things that I plant flourish, but I give it a go every single time. So start with the things that you eat the most, find out what climate you're in, find out what zone you're in, which is a big one, and then figure out what you can do to grow that food. If you're in an apartment, I suggest looking into an indoor grow operation that requires some lighting and some specific soil, but it is very possible to grow a nice garden or at least some of your year's food indoors. And then on that subject is preserving your food. So being able to can it, dehydrate it, freeze dry it, really any way that you can preserve your bounty for the year, unless you can somehow go through it, which is totally fine as well. That will just serve you for the time being. But I like to water bath can. I have pressure canned before, but it's not my favorite thing to do. So dehydrating and water bath canning is how we preserve our bounty. We like to make sauces. We like to preserve our fruit that way as well. And along that subject, if you can't find a way to grow your own food, which everybody can, trust me, I'd suggest shopping your bulk bins at the stores, figuring out a way to find out when your favorite foods go on clearance. And that tip is for more non-processed foods like fruits and veggies and things of that nature. So number 1 on the list, grow your own food. Very passionate about that. If you're new here, check back on my recent videos. I show you all about our garden plans and what we're doing to seed start right now in April. Number 2 on the list, I'm rather new to. I was born in the 90s, but using renewable energy. And that is easier said than done because it comes with an expense sometimes. So out here in Colorado, wind turbines are everybody's jam. That has its ups and downs. I will say that taking a deeper dive into wind turbines and if they are truly working is something that I'm still kind of diving into. But on that subject, you could also use solar energy. And I'm not just talking about solar energy panels for your entire home. I'm talking about basic little items in your home that could use solar for energy. So there are solar battery banks for an inexpensive cost, and you can find them just about anywhere. I love 4Patriots. I am not getting paid to say this, but they have many little gadgets that are solar powered that can just make your life a little bit easier and save you some money. I also suggest looking into your electrical company. A lot of them do offer some sort of renewable energy. I'm not really sure how they get a kickback with that, but it's something to look into, especially if you are thinking of moving off grid. Using different renewable energy sources is obviously what's going to keep your homestead alive and make your life a little easier. So again, I'm rather new to the renewable energy, but it has to go on the list if you're becoming more self-sustainable. Number 3 on the list goes along with number 1, and that is compost. Definitely collect your own compost. You can use that for soil. It's healthy. It's great for your garden. They have little tabletop units that you could have in your kitchen if you're more of an organized person, or you can just throw a compost pile in the back of your yard. There are ways to make that not so smelly. You can make it organized. You can even make it just a little bit more contained. I'm having a small issue with mine just because my chickens really enjoy it, so we have had to enclose ours, but it's doing great. There's also units that you can keep outside that you can turn. When we lived in Boulder, Colorado, we did that, and there was a program where you could actually give your compost in your recycling and your trash, and then you could go to the recycling center and they would give you some compost back for your garden, which is really cool. So I suggest looking into your local municipality and see if there's any programs like that out there. But if you're kind of out here in the middle of nowhere like we are now, you might want to start looking into a compost pile, especially if you are growing your own food. There are just many benefits to having compost. Number 4 on the list is to use reusable products. So that's a big one that I feel like has been around for a while now, but it's not just recycling. It's all about using things that you can reuse. So perhaps you are finding these, silicone baggies for your Ziploc bag alternative. You can definitely reuse them if you take care of them. You could make your own beeswax wraps, and that covers your food just to leave the oxygen in the actual food when you're putting it in the refrigerator. You can use reusable bags, reusable straws. There are many different ways to use different items again in the kitchen, but then it extends to your bathroom. You can find a reusable razor. You could find reusable Q-tips. There are just so many ways that you can find alternatives to your everyday lifestyles. I suggest finding a place local to you. I am in a small town, but about an hour away. There are different stores that provide those items to you, but stores like Walmart and Target, even Amazon, carries a lot of reusable products at a good cost. So I suggest looking into that. And then with that comes shopping items. So I am lucky in Colorado, they're very passionate about reusable products. So I can go to a bulk store, bring in my own jars and bags, and I can fill up my regulars. I can get Castile soap there. I can get rices, grains, different things like lip balm. There's just so many items out there. I will say I grew up in rural Pennsylvania, and I haven't really found too many shops like that when asking back home. So I get that it's not out there for everybody, but definitely look into it, or maybe even look into a way that you can start making your own botanicals. I do that as well. Definitely check out my emergency preparedness playlist. I have information all about that if you want to see how to do that, because it's really easy and it can save you money, and a lot of these products can be used in different ways. So number 4 on the list, reusable products. Any way you can, start making simple swaps. It's very easy to do, and it's not going to cost you a lot of money in the long run. Of course, it might be an investment up front, but if you have the cash, definitely look into some of the items that I'm talking about. Next on the list, and when I was compiling this list, I was asking around, and this was number 5, reducing your water usage. So that's easier said than done. I will say that it's been a little tricky. We are almost a family of 5, and we go through a lot of water. So you can install low flow appliances in your home, like toilets and sinks. That's just an option. You could collect rainwater if you wanted to. I've even seen people collecting gray water underneath their sink in a bucket, just honestly taking the drain off of it and putting it in the bucket. I would keep an eye on that if you're gonna do that, but there are ways to save water. It just takes a little bit of an effort. If you're working full-time and caring for a family, I would suggest maybe starting small, looking into replacing those appliances that use a lot of water. And believe it or not, a dishwasher, well, at least an energy efficient one, isn't going to use as much water as dishes do. So that's something to keep in mind, especially in my last video when we were talking about water contamination. So find other sources of water that you can keep with you as well. Number 6 is my shameless plug to buy local. I am lucky enough to be surrounded by farms, and I can do that. I can find something local for just about everything that we eat. So that comes with a cost, I will say that, but you are making a connection. You are making the community stronger, in my opinion, and you can also use that resource to barter. So if you can give up a good or service, I'd suggest talking to the owner of that local farm or goods store and figuring out if you can trade. I've had people flat out tell me no. I've had people say, that's interesting. Yes, let's do it. And you just kind of have to be a little brave. I have said in videos in the past, I'm definitely more introverted, but I have my family in mind at all times, and ways that we can get involved with the community. So I think that's really important, and buying local is really something that could save our food sources. If you just think about maybe each household growing one thing, say I chose corn for the year and my neighbor chose wheat, and we just bartered back and forth. Of course, those are two small examples, but there are ways for a community to be a little stronger, and there are ways that a community can become more self-sustainable without relying on government resources. Number 7 on the list is for the city people. I've lived in a city before, and that's using public transportation. Of course, it's nice to get in your car, jam out to your music, and make your morning commute, but a lot of jobs, especially in the area that I'm in, offer free public transportation. All you have to do is be an employee. So definitely check out the programs offered by your job if you have one. If you're a stay-at-home mom like me, there are also programs out there that you can use to take your kids to the museum for the day, or we live on the Front Range, take your kids up to the mountains for the day, or maybe you just want to head to a hot spring. There are ways to do that without using your own car. So I suggest doing that, especially with gas prices skyrocketing right now. And a lot of these public transportations have been getting a lot better for the environment. And I'm not just talking about the electric cars. There are other ways that these transportations are better for the environment. If you really look into electric and what it takes to power that, lithium specifically, you might change your mind about some of those programs going on, but it's something that you should look into. Public transportation can be very helpful. It also can be a bit dangerous. There are all walks of life on there, so definitely be prepared in a self-defense scenario. I have to add that in there. My husband works in law enforcement, but I wanted to put that on the list because I get a lot of people from cities on the channel and they don't know what to do. So I thought that that would be a good one. If you're not taking a bus or a train, there's also like rent a scooter for the day or rent a bicycle for the day. If you are in the city and you don't have a bike, go ahead and try and ride that bike, because that was my favorite thing about living in Boulder. I rode my bike everywhere to every job I had, and I never really thought about gas or my car unless we went into downtown Denver. So that's another thing. I just wanted to put it on the list, but I believe it ties in with being more self-sustainable. Next on the list is going to be reducing your energy in general. So turning off lights when you're not using them, maybe looking for a low battery mode for some of those items that always stay on. I take my Wi-Fi every night and unplug it. That's an option. Perhaps opening your windows instead of using the air conditioner, or just waiting until the last moment to turn that on in the summer. I will say I'm not very good with the heat. I am cold all the time, so I tell my husband to put the heat on as soon as it gets chilly. So we are still working on that, but that is an option. Reducing your energy in any way, shape, or form. Definitely start small. Perhaps instead of watching a show at night, you could read by candlelight. I know that sounds hard for some of us in 2023, but it's just an option if you're trying to save some money and become more self-sustainable. Number 9 on the list is going to be repair and reuse. So repairing items that you already have instead of buying new. I always think back to a country song that I heard, if it's broke round here, we fix it. I think that's Brantley Gilbert. That was a while ago, but that's what I grew up on. We rarely bought new things unless they were just absolutely unfixable. We fixed everything we had, tractors, cars, appliances, just anything we had. And I feel like that used to be a thing. I feel like a lot of people did that. A lot of people still do that, but the generation just after me, I'm technically a millennial, so part of my generation too, it's easier for them, I guess, not me specifically, but it's easier for some people to buy new. So if you are going into this self-sustaining lifestyle, just know that some of your appliances, some of your, things that you gravitate towards every single day may break. Try and fight the urge. Try and figure out a way to fix it. You won't believe how many things my husband and I have fixed just by watching a simple YouTube video. And again, I know this is easier said than done, but give it a try. Something simple that happened to me, my phone's screen broke. So I bought a replacement screen for $10 on Amazon and I fixed it. There was a lot of cursing and yes, it got a little frustrating, but it worked and I fixed my phone instead of getting a brand new phone. Now, that's something as simple as a phone, but there's been a lot in our lifetime. The only thing that we have had to buy new was a water heater. I grew up in a plumbing family and I know not to mess with that, not to try and fix that on your own, especially an electric one. So that's just an example, but definitely try and find something in your home that is broken. Start small. Again, you'll probably keep that in a theme for this list, but start small, try and fix those things that you already have. And number 10 on the list, I wanted to put it as an 11, but I really do think it's very important. There are, of course, so many different things to become self-sustainable, but these are the basics. So number 10 on the list, educate others. And that is what I'm trying to do here. I am no expert, but I get this question all the time. How do I start this lifestyle? How do I just start small, baby steps? And that is to really start researching and find someone that you enjoy, listening to or watching, and then go from there. Perhaps you're not a people person. There's plenty of literature out there for you to become more self-sustainable. And once you have some knowledge under your belt and some experience, because they go hand in hand, don't just read a book and then preach to your family. You actually have to have some experience. That is something that I'm very, very adamant on, but knowledge and experience go hand in hand. Once you have some of that under your belt, go ahead and start educating others. Don't offer unsolicited advice as a new mother. Please don't do that, but I think it's really important to learn from others and learn from their experience. So I am constantly asking family members, they're probably annoyed by it by now, but how things work, how they did this. And it's been really helpful. Some of these things work in our life that we've implemented and some don't. So I wanted to put that on the list. Educating others is a big one. And like I said, if I have forgotten anything or maybe you want to add to any of these subjects, definitely drop those down in the comment box below. I think I am going to close out the list here. I love sitting down and chatting with you and coming up with 5 to 10 ways to do something. So I think I'm going to do a lot more of these videos. It's a lot easier for me. I am in my 3rd trimester. Baby will be here in 5 to 6 weeks. We shall see. So I'm just trying to take it easy, and sitting here and chatting with you definitely is helpful. So again, if you are new here, we would love it if you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. As always, stay adventurous, stay creative, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye, y'all.